What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. It's Friday. That means it's time for the Rex and the Robbie Show. And you can't have the Rex and the Robbie Show without Robbie and without my man Rex. What is up, homie?
Happy Friday the 13th, brother.
It is. I got my Jason shirt on. I got my Jason socks on. I'm ready to go.
I
Got to
don't
leave
know.
out milk and cookies.
The way my day's going, I'm just going to wrap myself in bubble wrap and try to keep my movements to a minimum. I see you have your Terrible 5 comic in the background.
I do.
Right next to Castle Grayskull. I see it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's good old Nick influencing me and getting me to buy this terrible comic book with the
True that. He was actually talking about it the other day with one of the other staff, telling him what, how horrible a comic it was. And all that stuff.
He was so passionate about how horrible the comic was that I was like, I got to grab him. I still got one to get. I didn't even get the one that he was showing off. I got another one. So I got to get that one too.
Well, you know what's funny? It's kind of like the world's ugliest dog kind of thing. It just gets to a point where it becomes like super popular. You went out and bought one.
Yeah.
You've doubled their sales in the last year.
Well, Spilio got one too. And then all of a sudden I was like, just wait and see this book pop up on Key Collector, because all of a sudden we've increased the sales 400% over the last week. We appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, we got GT Key Comic, Moni, Nerdtastic News. What's up, Manny? We got OUG up in the house. Cryo's in the house. A lot of people up in here today. Thank you all for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about, are streaming services too pricey? Do they cost too much? Because recently, there have been some price hikes on some of these services, and a lot of us have a lot of these services. And the whole reason why these services started and why they succeeded was because we were wanting to cut the cable. We were wanting to get away from cable. It was getting really expensive. And now, I mean, if you have just a handful of streaming services, it's pretty much the same. But now there's a content problem as well. So I want to chat about this tonight. Two Gun Pedro in the house. What is up, my man? So Rex, I want to get your thoughts first, and you out there in the chat, let us know what you think.
Two Gun?
Do they cost too much, Rex? Are they too high?
Well, you're talking to an old guy here, so I'm going to tell you straight up. To me, everything costs too much. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There was just I think there was a delay there, but yeah, you good.
Yeah, I've noticed this last week there have been a lot of problems with YouTube. It's just like this week we ran the commercial spot on the experience, and the people couldn't see it, but it was running and they could hear it, but my mic was up. So during the break, there was like I was talking over the commercial break. I don't know what's going on, man.
That's happened with a few people. It's probably, it seems like that's like a StreamYard issue. So now every time we have an intro playing, I'm nervous that like I'm just running, because that happened with my buddy where he played an intro and he's just sitting there just waiting, and it's just everybody's just watching him just sit there. It's so weird. It was so awkward.
Yeah. Don't pick your nose during the pause, because it may you may be broadcasting it to all the viewers. Digging for gold. Do I think it's too much? Sure, I think it's too much. I mean, we're very quickly getting to the point where I'm probably spending as much as I used to spend on Comcast cable, okay, which was just ridiculous. All right, I mean, and again, this was decades ago, but it got to a point where you're paying somewhere between $150 to almost $200 a month for cable and everything else. Any of them for cost reasons, so not too high yet. Yeah, I think so. What Nerdtastic is saying, I see the point. And the problem is that individually they're not, okay. All right, but when you combine all of them, all of a sudden you start doing the math. You start adding it up. Yeah, now you're spending over $100 a month in streaming services, and the problem is, are you watching all of them? I keep saying I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and I'm going to clean it up. There are things I don't watch frequently, and I just never end up doing it. It becomes that kind of like that incidental charge that you have every month that you just keep forgetting about. Like, oh yeah, that $4.99, I got to deal with that. And then something distracts you. I kind of shut them off and restart them later. Yeah, OUG, that's not a bad idea. But Comics by the Bay, what's going on, man? That's not a bad idea, OUG, if you're conscientious enough to keep up with it. That's the problem. You know, I say this. What was it? In order for me, Peacock. I got that for the Olympics. I still have it. And everyone think, I got to get rid of Peacock. I never watch. I got to get rid of it, you know, and I never do. And what's it been now? How long was the Olympics?
Yeah, that was a while ago, Rex. You should be over. You should have canceled that by now.
Yeah, I should have. There's no doubt. So they keep dinging me for $4.99 a month. Money. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
That's a good solution. Yeah. So, you know, Cryo, for a lot of people, if you're conscientious enough, but that's another thing, it almost becomes another thing you have to deal with in the course of your day. So that to me is not necessarily a plus. Okay. But you kind of had to see this coming, right? Because what ended up happening was, as all the streaming services, I mean, you look at the progression of it. Obviously, Netflix had the lion's share to start, and they were the streaming services. You had Hulu, of course, and then all of a sudden you had Disney break off. You had HBO Max. You know, all that stuff start to break off a little bit. So then you had more main competitors, and back then it was easier. And I think that maybe pricing was, I don't know, artificially kind of low, because each one of them was trying to gain market share. So they get into this price war with each other. But now all of a sudden you got streaming services everywhere. Everything's coming out. You know, you got Prime, you got Apple TV, you got all of this. And the different properties are going, you know, exclusively to one of these things if the company that's behind it is the source of the IP. So now all of a sudden the price war isn't really working, or whatever the numbers they're looking at. I think they're saying that, well, look, you know, they're doing HBO Max, they're doing Disney Plus, you know, they're doing this, they're doing that. So in a sense, they see that it's not really so much growing subscribers. It's really grabbing the other guy's subscribers. And you don't really do that with, you know, in this realm, you don't do that with a price cut. Because, you know, for example, Netflix isn't going to make me abandon HBO Max or Disney Plus by lowering their prices.
Yeah.
Now, there's enough content there that I would just drop it immediately. But they also recognize that the price won't necessarily work, because there's stuff I want to watch on HBO Max, there's stuff I want to watch on Disney Plus. So I'm not going to bounce them just because, oh, look, Netflix is $3 cheaper a month. Let me cancel these other guys. Because you're not giving me apples to apples, right? It's apples to oranges to lemons. So, you know, hey, man cave, what's up, man? So really, what they feel like they can edge the prices up without having any kind of retaliation. But what I think the wrong move is you better make sure that the content, because you're starting to cut content, the content's going to, you know, the content cut's going to work. Because if you start cutting shows that I enjoy, I'll give you one very good example, right? So I think it's HBO Max. There was a sci-fi series, The Nevers, which I watched the first season of, and I really, really enjoyed. Okay. I enjoyed that first season. I was waiting for the next season. It was good storyline. It was, you know, taking place in historic England, and, you know, superpowers, that whole 9 yards. It was, for me, it was engaging. Now I come to find out that there will be no season 2. They're cutting that. Okay, so all of a sudden now you're making, I think it's HBO Max or it's Netflix. You see, that proves my point right there. And you and I commonly have this discussion. We're talking on the EXP or your show, and then I say, oh, it's on this, and then you go, oh no, it's actually on this. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. They overlap to the point where I don't even remember which one I watched it on. But now I'm going to be paying attention because you've just eliminated something I like to watch. So if you keep eliminating the content, that's where you could get into that danger area. Because
yeah, I think that's happening too. I think that's happening. So I think as the prices rise, and you're right about, they're not necessarily, none of these services are growing their subscriber base and continuously, because they have these big losses, and then they're just this, like, they're all just sharing, and this like a wave of subscribers going through the different streaming platforms, right? And OUG has the great thing. That's what I always say too, is just decide you want to watch Cobra Kai or Umbrella Academy and just have Netflix for a month, and the next month's your HBO Max month or something. Obviously FOMO gets caught up in that, right? Where people are talking about.
But I think it's more. I think it's more than that. I understand your point, but I think the problem is okay. So there's a segment of the population that's going to be like OUG, right? So they're going to map it out. They're going to plan. Okay, this month I'm going to be HBO Max. This month I'm going to be Netflix. Blah blah blah. And they're going to then there's a segment of their customer base, the population like me. I'm not doing that. You know, I enjoy watching series or whatever, but I'm not to the point where I'm going to add something else to my day and have to keep track of all this crap. You know, and obviously,
well,
I still have Peacock, and the Olympics are always over.
You can get an app, for instance, that would take all that into account and let you know what all is there that you don't have, and you just hit a button and it unsubscribes for you. That's a thing that exists, you know. I'm just trying to help you out, Rex.
Well, that might help me out, but let's put it for what it is. Now, is the app going to make my life easier? It will, but the problem is that what's going to happen is I'm like that guy, call it spring cleaning or whatever. I'm finally going to get to a day where I actually look at the bills and go, oh my God, this is outrageous, and I'm going to just clean house all at once and be done with it. I'm not going to go back every month and look at this thing. To me, I consider it a pain in the butt, and I don't want to do it. So that's how it's going to be, and how that's going to be determined by me. And I saw that somebody had a really good question. Does original content matter that much?
Yeah, that was Man Cave.
It doesn't. It doesn't really, to be honest with you. In some cases it does, in some cases it doesn't. So if I were to look at my big three, okay, so that would be HBO Max, Netflix, and Disney Plus. I would say, in movements being made, it is likely that I'm going to dump HBO Max first. Okay, and here's the reasoning. So Disney Plus just has too many things that I enjoy watching, right? You know, even if I'm going to complain about the MCU, Star Wars, and you know, other such things, and I recognize that they are the 800-pound gorilla in terms of owning IP. So when you say original content, they're the most likely to give you original content they're going to throw up on their streaming channel, right? So then Netflix has been falling off now for years, obviously. And then when companies like Disney and whatever start pulling their content, it obviously has left it kind of a shell of itself. But there are two things that I like. Netflix has tiered pricing depending on what you're willing to put up with, okay, or not put up with. Much more so than everybody else, right? So that's important to me. But beyond that, and this is unique to me, Netflix has a lot of international films that I enjoy watching. So I like to hold on to Netflix to watch a lot of Chinese content films and stuff like that coming out of Taiwan, Hong Kong, or China. So I enjoy watching that. HBO Max has just been stripping everything, and I find that there's less and less that I want to watch there. Okay, and now you're telling me you're canceling Nevers and the Nevers, and what else are you going to cancel?
And the
kind of like what Netflix is going through. What's that?
I said, and the price is going up on HBO Max as they're removing this content. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like the removal of content, like. And my answer to this is, when I want a streaming service, I want new content. That's cool, but I want to have access, because this is the idea behind the whole idea of streaming is we pay these fees, we have access to this library of content. And for instance, with older movies in particular, that has become a problem where things are just vanishing from the digital streaming realms, and physical media is not where it was. And obviously I support that, but that's not everybody's cup of tea. That's not everybody's bag. It would be more convenient just to have more awesome options. Now, I think some of the better content as far as older movies is on some of the cheaper services, like even the free ones like Tubi and Pluto that were mentioned, but you got to put up with commercials. And sometimes commercials during a movie, that's a different experience than just watching the movie. Then you got cheaper ones like Shudder, Peacock. They have some really good content. Of course, I'm a genre fan. I'm a horror fan. So there's a lot of horror content on there for me. And you were talking about like Netflix for the Chinese film content, right? And so it does determine what you like based on what you're expecting, right? But for instance, this is a problem all the time we have here. When we do PCP movie night, my buddy Brooks, part of the Excitable PCP crew, he has pretty much almost every streaming service. And he constantly is griping to me about not being able to find the movie that we're covering. And he's like, why am I paying all this money if this movie is on none of it, right? And that's so weird. As streaming became more popular, there were more content streamers wanting to do their own thing. Oh, why license Star Trek out to Netflix when we could just start Paramount Plus or CBS All Access at the time, right? And like Paramount Plus gets my money because I like to watch Star Trek. And so that's just, I have access to all the digital library there and this kind of stuff, right? So that's the problem to me, is that at any moment they just say we don't want it. So there's more streaming services. So the content gets separated out amongst more. The prices keep going up. And as far as prices go, you mentioned Netflix has the tiers. They do $6.99, like 720p with ads, $9.99, 720p. It's like $15.49 for standard, $19.99 for the premium. I think that's 4K and stuff. HBO Max is $9.99 with ads, but now it's going to be $15.99 without. Amazon Prime, I still think, is the best deal because it's $14.99, and if you shop on Amazon, that's worth it alone. Hulu $7.99 or $14.99. Disney is $9.99 and $10.99. Paramount Plus and Peacock are both $4.99 or $9.99 for ad free. And Apple TV, even, who was $4.99 for a long time, has recently went up to $6.99, I believe. So if you have all that together, you still do not have access to all the content that you may want to watch in the coming months, and you're paying just as much, if not more, than you did back in the days of cable for less content sometimes. I don't know. Would you get any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I kind of do. So I think what they're approaching is a very dangerous thing. And I only see it from my perspective, obviously. You know, each viewer is different. They're going to react differently. But you're getting to a point where, you know, I hate, because I pay for all these streaming services. So when a movie comes up and it's offered for sale, say on Prime, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not renting that. Okay, I already paid for it. I'll just wait for it to get the cable. If it never gets there, at what point does it make sense for me to just cancel, like I said, HBO Max? Okay, I do like some of the first-time movies, like The Batman. But at that point, doesn't it make more sense for me to wait for it to leave the theaters, hit paid streaming, so I have to rent it, watch it, and not have to pay that monthly thing? Because not every month do they have a movie that they put on I want to watch.
Yeah.
You know? So it really is, I think, a very interesting thing. And I don't have the answer. I'm sure they don't either. They kind of have to figure it out as well. So, and I know a lot of people are joking, you know, about the shared whatever. I'm going to tell you, I see that, you know, coming to an end at some point very, very quickly, because they're realizing that it's sucking out their revenues.
Netflix is ending it, right? So they're like, Netflix has announced that they're going to end it, and they're going to start charging you like $3.99 for extra users or something like that. That's going to start happening to everybody else. So I love everybody talking about password sharing, and that's something that I actively do with my friends and our crew. And I see people talk about the Plex servers, and I have access to several people's library, you know, private libraries of their digital content. And then piracy is a real thing too, that we all know that. So that, you know, those are all options, but we're trying to be like, you know, even though I have access to, say, some people's Plex servers, or I have access to, say, friends' personal content, or if I have access to like their passwords, I still pay for plenty of these streaming services, probably more than I should. I actually still, you know what I pay? I pay for Sling TV. You know why I pay for Sling TV? So I can watch live sports. Like that's,
I have to tell you,
right?
Yeah, well, I have to tell you that is about the only thing that I would pay for, but I don't have to. Okay. Because really, when you think about it, I love baseball, but I don't need an entire season package to watch baseball. All right, I can watch a few games here and there that'll come on TV, regular network TV.
If you're a big baseball fan, I'll just give everybody a real tip. T-Mobile gives free MLB TV, so if you like T-Mobile and you like baseball, it's a match made in heaven. So that's been great.
Actually, I use T-Mobile for my internet, so that's interesting to know. But I catch games here and there. I mean, but I'm not religious. So really, the game that I think from a watching perspective is football, right? Here's the thing: I don't need streaming services for football. I have a digital aerial antenna in my house, and I just watch it locally, and I'm fine with that. Okay, so you look at it every Sunday. I'm watching either on Fox, I'm watching CBS, I'm watching NBC. Do I catch every game? I don't, but I'm not one of those people that have two screens, picture in picture, and I'm watching two games at the same time. I find that horribly distracting. If two games are on the same time, will I flip from time to time? Depends, right? Yeah, I might. If one team's blowing another team out, I'll switch to the other game if it's tighter. But other than that, I get my full fix football every single weekend using network TV. So I don't need to stream for that. Everything else, it's not a must. It really isn't. Again, I like Netflix mainly because of the international films. And the key for me is a lot of these films are not really promoted within the United States. So really, Netflix gives me the ability to kind of shop what's here. All right. Oh, okay, this looks interesting. Let me watch it. So I ended up watching quite a few international movies that are quite good that I didn't hear anything about. It's not in the news. It's not being released in the movie theaters, right? So I'm using Netflix as my kind of shopping. Disney Plus, again, Disney Plus just has way too many things that I love to watch that I'm not going to get rid of it. And again, I believe with the amount of intellectual properties that they own, they're the most likely to keep pumping out original content onto their streaming channel, which leaves HBO Max. You're whacking all the short Looney Tunes. You're whacking this. You're whacking that. You're going to come back as Max or whatever they're calling it, a combined HBO Discovery. And I got to be honest, I stopped watching the Discovery Channel when it stopped being like nature shows or whatever, or like the Serengeti or things like that. Now I think most of the stuff on Discovery is crap. That's a personal opinion. If you're a Discovery fan, don't like send me like hate mail. But I don't dig reality shows. I don't. Reality is good enough here. I get enough of reality. When I sit at home and I'm watching something, I want to watch something Star Wars, something MCU, something like The Nevers, something that is fantasy that takes me away from the reality I live in.
I'm gathering from you, Rex, that you utilize your streaming services mostly for like TV shows and then foreign films is what you're digging, right? And TV like new films, so like new movies. Like you don't like go on HBO Max and like how often do you go on HBO Max and look like find an old movie from the 80s that you haven't seen in a while and just watch it again? Is that something that you do?
Not unless it's up there. So the marking that they do in terms of how they do it, okay, that's
you're saying their algorithm controls you then, Rex. That's what you're saying.
Yes,
right?
That's actually very true. Yes, you're absolutely correct, Robbie. I'm not like thinking about a film. It happens every now and again. Don't get me wrong. Like a little nostalgia hits you, like, oh yeah. Or usually the nostalgia comes from one of our shows. We end up talking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that movie. I'll type it in. Where's it playing?
Yeah.
But for me, if I just need white background noise, dude, I got it on local channels. I'm still watching The Voice, okay? Or there's some new game shows. There are a lot of game shows on TV.
So you like certain competition reality shows then? You I guess.
No. Let me put it another way. I'm not searching it out, okay? I get home from work. Okay, I get home after our show. I go home. I snap the TV on, feed the cats, whatever, to take care of whatever, and whatever's on is on. Ironically enough, there's a channel called Heroes and Icons. If I don't find anything that really is just boring me to tears, what I'll do is I'll flip to that channel because every weeknight starting at 8 p.m. They run the whole Star Trek episodes, everyone that I've seen. But to me, that's awesome background noise.
Yeah,
you know, and there'll be scenes that I like, or particular episodes that I like, you know, like Deep Space Nine, the one where they redo the Tribbles episode. I love that episode, you know. So if that comes on, I'll be watching it, you know. But I don't need streaming to kind of fill that gap. So when I'm streaming, I'm looking for something, you know, something that's going to engage my interest. So I kind of like Netflix sometimes with the little previews. When you click on it, it gives you a little preview of what's going on. But yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. HBO Max at the current time is offering me the least, and unfortunately, they could have retained, but that's all connected with the mess of the DCU, in my opinion. If you had fixed that mess, I would probably look at HBO Max more like I look at Disney Plus.
Gotcha.
I'll hang in there and see what comes out. But they've created such a hot mess out of DC Universe that it's like, yeah, well, you may or may not get it fixed. I'm you know this. We've had this discussion a million times. I'm very optimistic, big fan of Gunn and Safran. So expect to see, you know, I'm hopeful, but how long is that going to be? Right?
Yeah.
What's coming up? Shazam, The Flash. Maybe that's 2 movies I would have to rent. Maybe I'm way better off just renting those when they finally are available than to keep holding on to HBO Max. You know?
All right. What's outside of the content, price wise? What's the tipping point? $20 a month, $25 a month. Would anybody pay $25 a month for Netflix or HBO Max and then have multiples? Like, I don't know. I guess some people could not think twice about it, but those of us down on the ground level.
Yeah, let me say that right now, I still believe they are in the correct price tier. All right. And what I mean by that, so pulling it up, right? Netflix giving you the most options, $6.99, $9.99, $15.49, $19.99. I don't know what premium is, but I can't imagine what you could be giving me that I would be willing to pay you $20 a month, right?
Pretty sure that's just like Ultra HD 4K stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm okay with that. I'm an old guy. I don't see that good. So I don't need, Ultra 4D or whatever, right? So then I agree with you. Amazon Prime, I think, is the best because it goes with your subscription. It's a la carte kind of situation. You know, if I want to see something, I click on it. Oh, you got to pay extra for that. And, then I make a decision. I will or I won't. But on top of it, obviously, you're an Amazon Prime member, and there's so many benefits to that. So it's worthwhile. I just consider it a bonus. I read a lot on Kindle. So being an Amazon Prime member, I get a lot of free books as well. So it's just it works well. Hulu's very close for me to dump. I find I'm not really watching anything there. I really don't believe I should be paying $8 a month to watch a bunch of commercials. So that probably is going. Disney, $9.99 and then $10.99 for ad free. So to not have to watch advertisements, I got to pay $1 more a month. I can live with that. That's $12 a year. I can live with that. Showtime, don't even know what's on it. Don't have it. It's $10.99 a month. Paramount Plus, I might replace my Hulu with Paramount Plus because I am a Star Trek fan. Okay. So that's a possibility. Peacock, we've already discussed that. I need to make sure I cancel that as soon as possible. What I told you, ESPN Plus, not worth it. To watch a bunch of talking heads.
It's really not. It's really not because it doesn't give you, like, for instance, the reason why I have Sling is so that I can watch ESPN and I can watch NBA TV and I can watch the NFL Network and MLB Network, and because ESPN Plus, even when you get, because I have that bundle, right, with Disney and Hulu and ESPN Plus, man, I can't watch Sports Center. I can't watch Monday Night Football on that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I got my Sling.
Yeah, it's a failing model that Disney has to grapple with. Maybe they shed off that division, whatever.
ESPN Plus would work if it gave you access to all their networks, just live streaming it, right?
Yeah, but it's not going to happen because
it's not the extra stuff that we need. And then it's tied into the damn website. So you go to the website and you start reading an article, and then it's like, oh, you have to be ESPN Plus to read the rest of it. I'm like, what?
But that's the problem. You see, that's my point. The problem is that with ESPN Plus, you're not going to be able to do it because of all the different contracts with all the different leagues, right? So you're not going to be able to give everybody access to NFL and an MLB or NHL because each contract is negotiated separately, right? So it's just not cost effective to do. And to be quite honest, yeah, Billy Powermax. Hey, I didn't know that, but I'll check it out. But I don't need to watch it that bad that I need to be paying for. You know what I'm saying? I can watch if David Hassel, if I need a David Hasselhoff fix, Heroes and Icons has Baywatch on their channel, which I get for free. So why would I pay? You know, but because it came bundled with Hulu and Disney, I saw that as well. Yes, but there are different tiers of ESPN Plus as well. So it's just the programming there is not worth paying for. Let's call it what it is. It's they've gone too far with the talking heads, and I don't need to see guys analyze this crap some more. You know, there's no point in it. So for me, hey man, KFC buddy. So for me, it's really a matter of, are you giving me content? But you are now with these guys, you're approaching that price point where you're making me think about it. Okay, that's not necessarily a good thing. Because you know certain streaming services are going to suffer because of this, because I can't be the only person, right? Somebody's going, well, now you're getting the prices where I got to go back and look and deal with this. You know, when you were dinging me for my $4 a month, I wasn't really paying attention, but now I got to start paying attention. And the sad thing is, it doesn't necessarily affect the streaming service that's raising the prices, right? So HBO Max or say Disney Plus raises their prices, I'm not going to dump them. But their rise in price raises my monthly budget for streaming. So now I got to go back and look at all the stuff that I want to get rid of. And it may not be that have has raised the price their monthly fee. But now I got to, they're dinging me for $3-4 more. So now what am I paying $3-4 more that I almost never watch? And I'm going to eliminate that. So that's the unintended effect I think these guys are not looking at, is that overall you're going to shrink it. You're going to put some of these streaming businesses, services out of business. And maybe that should be it. Maybe that's the way it should be. Maybe they shouldn't be around in the first place.
Yeah, maybe there are just too many of them, and that's spreading the content out too far as the prices go up. So thank you for this conversation, Rex. I appreciate your perspective. Thank you out there in the chat for your perspective as well. If you're watching this on the replay, comment below any of your thoughts. Are streaming services too expensive? Are there too many? Is there not enough content? Is the content spread too thin? Can you find the stuff that you want to see? Or are you just at the mercy of whatever they show you? All right. Rex, you got anything coming up?
We've got Nick's 7 p.m. original art show on The Experience. Robbie and I will be back on The Experience on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, me and Alec Wednesdays at 6 p.m. as well on The Experience. And then, of course, Robbie and I will be back next Friday at noon Eastern time.
Absolutely. And hopefully DC has done something, because we're just waiting. We're just waiting for something. So anyway,
something will happen.
Yeah, you know it will. Join me tomorrow night on Dylan's Horror Show as we talk about Burial Ground. That's an interesting film. And then Monday night after the show over at the EXP, join us for PCP Movie Night, where we're talking about Clerks, the Kevin Smith movie that launched his career. Very excited to have a chat about that. Rex, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you, man. Thank you out there, everybody. We are dipping out. Have a good one. And just take a look at all your streaming services. What are you using? What are you watching? Maybe cut a couple of them and just, who knows? Share a password while we can.